I'm William Kumwembe. Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the program Business Time. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. And in the program today, government asked to explain repayment plans of loans highlighted in the 2020-2021 national budget. Also in the program, businesses to benefit from a $3.9 million COVID-19 bailout window. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program, Finance Minister Joseph Mwanamveka on Friday presented to Parliament the 2 trillion kwacha 2020-2021 national budget. The financial plan, second to be presented by Mwanamveka as Finance Minister, has financial deficit of 651 billion kwacha. Already rated by the media as desperate and defiant budget, the financial plan has attracted mixed reactions from stakeholders. Now, as debate rages, Business Times' Chimwemwe Mangazi caught up with economic expert who is also economics lecturer at the Polytechnic, Bechani Chereni, for his take on the budget.
We are a bit concerned because we are doing too much borrowing, especially for the recurrent, 490 billion to be borrowed from within the country to finance recurrent expenditures. That's quite a concern because we don't know how we are going to pay for that 490. It's a budget that is also looking into some infrastructure developments, but they are not as much. The development budget only 25%. The recurrent budget 75%. That's too much. We are not yet a country which has matured to come to the level where we should just be eating and eating. We are a country which should be producing. We should be focusing more on production. It's a budget that we are looking at the fertilizer, for example, some subsidies they're going to improve. Fertilizer, people are going to buy at 5,000 kwacha per bag. That's quite a good gesture. We hope it can continue and we hope it can be sustainable. And we hope that even commercial farmers can benefit from that 5,000. Because commercial farmers, remember, they pay taxes and therefore we can pay back some of the money when we borrow them. Most of the subsistence farmers, they don't really pay. But it's also a budget which has faced some challenges. We are not seeing a lot of incentives going to the private sector, for example. How are we going to look into startups? And also how are we going to sustain other industries which are already in here? Government has said in the budget statement quite clearly that we may not necessarily find the stimulus for us to sustain some of the industries that have failed. For example, the tourism industry and many others. However, we believe that some of the recurrent expenditures would not have been incurred now, so that we should first of all look into the industry to make sure that industry has rebounded, because the rebound of the economy after the COVID-19 is very, very important. The COVID-19 may not go away. We have to learn how to live with it, and in that it means that we have to learn how to do things as well. So it's a budget that is ambitious, but also we may not necessarily get to where we are ambitioning to be. There's a term called productive borrowing. We could have looked into borrowing to make sure that people in the country will help to pay back the loan as when we borrow. This borrowing that we have seen here, we don't know how we are going to pay back the money. We are going to borrow, but how are we going to pay back the money? The budget does not tell us, and we don't know how that is going to happen, and that's dangerous. Why? Because what it means is that government will be digging a pit in order to fill another pit. So pits will continue to be dug, and they are going to be deeper and deeper and deeper, so that we just continue to fill up more other pits. That is going to be inflationary, and that's not good for the country. We need a very stable macroeconomic environment, and government borrowing in many cases, especially when it is not productive, that's the one that may lead into inflationary environment. It may even lead to destabilizing of even other macroeconomic fundamentals, and we don't need that. So that's the danger. We needed a government that was going to borrow money so that we can invest that money into aspects of production. We should all see that the private sector is being helped. Maybe borrowing for the private sector to start up. Maybe borrowing to help stimulate some of the private sector organizations. That would have been the best. And we hope that maybe the ministry is going to tell us how we are going to pay back the money. if every budget statement is a political statement, there's no budget statement which is made without politics embedded in it. We must remember that. So even this budget statement, there must be politics in it, because this is a strategy for the ruling party now to see as to whether they can get to where they wanted to get. However, the question is, how realistic is the politics in the budget? That's some of the things that we need to consider, because if the politics is too much, the sustainability may not arise. So we are seeing a budget which is addressing certain short-term political agendas, and there are also some long-term national agendas. So to the politics, every budget, when it is being formulated, it is very important to make sure that the politics is such that it is more mature, to make sure that the budget can answer to the longer-term activities and the requirements of the country. So yes, every budget statement, it is a political statement.
Meanwhile, the government revenue went down by 5.7% in April to 112.8 billion kwacha from 119.6 billion kwacha recorded in the preceding month. This is according to the Reserve Bank of Malawi's April monthly economic review. Justin Mkweo has more in this report.
The report has attributed the drop in the collection to a decline in domestic revenue. It says this outturn was mainly on account of domestic revenue collections that declined by 19.5% to 88.0 billion kwacha in April 2020. Under domestic revenue, both tax and non-tax components contributed to the reported drop in the month. Tax revenues declined by 8.0% to 82.9 billion kwacha, whereas non-tax collections fell 73.6% to 5.1 billion kwacha. Foreign receipts, which contributed to the decrease in revenue collection during the first quarter of 2020, picked up by 14.5 billion kwacha to 24.8 billion kwacha, which the central bank owes to grants towards the COVID-19 fight. In an earlier interview, a taxation expert, Emmanuel Kaluluma, said domestic revenue will continue to decline until government places measures that will bring businesses which have been interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic to normal. Government expenditure increased in April from 154.5 billion kwacha in March to 175.7 billion kwacha. Presenting the 2020-2021 national budget on Friday last week, the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Joseph Mwanamveka, expressed fears that revenue collection will continue to fall. Revenues and grants for the 2020-2021 fiscal year are estimated at 1.372 trillion kwacha, representing 19.2% of GDP and 10.1% decline when compared to the 2019-2020 mid-year revised estimate.
The Public Partnership Commission, PPPC, says they are waiting for two companies who are expected to finance Mpadamanga Hydropower project to demonstrate their competence for government before the project commences. On Thursday, the Commission announced that it has identified two financiers of the project from Netherlands and France. PPPC Acting Chief Executive Officer Audrey Mara says the process will involve the companies demonstrating their technical qualifications and methodology on how they can implement the project. We have the whole story in this report.
The companies are SN Power Invest Netherlands, BV, and Electricité de France, SA, and they presented their bid as a consortium. Speaking during a press briefing in Blantyre, the acting chief executive officer for PPPC, Audrey Mwala, said that the identification has been done after a thorough bidding process. Mwala added that the final phase will require the consortium to submit a proposal that demonstrates to the government's satisfaction. She said once construction starts, the project may take 4.5 years.
We believe that this will be achieved by developing a dam which will produce power, but also as a result of the efforts to curb environmental impact, there's also a second dam that has also been developed, which will also generate power, approximately 41 megawatts. So together, the two dams will be able to generate 350 megawatts of power. And these dams are going to provide power for both base and peaking. And the peaking means that there are certain hours of the day where electricity demand surges. So mostly these are the morning hours when people have just woken up and they are preparing to go to their various functions, but also in the evening, power surges, demand surges a lot because now this is time when everybody is at home. So this is an interesting plant that will provide both facilities, not just constant. So when there is less power needed, there will be less power produced, and when there is more power, then the dams will be open to generate. When there's more demand, the dams gates will be open to produce more power. So that's about the dam itself. But for us to achieve this milestone, to come to this place, you agree with me that it was not an easy job. It is a job that required a lot of technical expertise. So to that extent, the Malawi government partnered with International Finance Corporation, IFC, to conduct a feasibility study which helped us to prepare the project to come to this place. And this study looked at a number of issues, including technical, financial, environmental, social impact. And we came to this place after looking at a number of reports that altogether provided guidance that with a number of mitigating measures that were recommended, we can proceed to do this project. So as you know, that this project is being developed as a public-private partnership, which means that the private sector will bring in financing, and it will work in partnership with government to develop this project. So these are two companies that formed the consortium. SN Power invests. This company is from Netherlands, but we also have another company called Electricité de France. This company is also a French company. So the two have submitted a joint bid to be considered. So because they qualified, we now sent out a document that we call request for proposal. So this is now a document where they are now going to provide the detailed technical qualification and detailed methodology on how they intend to implement this project, and it will also further require them to provide information regarding the financing that will be involved in this project. So the next stage is just that we are waiting for them to submit the bid, which, if it is to the satisfaction of the government, then we'll proceed with them.
The project will consist of 2 hydropower plants, a main power plant and a dam as a reservoir. Energy expert Gren Malunga said it is indeed a time that the country should move away from relying on river-flowing water source of electricity to dams which can be efficient during the dry season. Currently, Malawi has the capacity to generate 422 megawatts of electricity, including generators, but it is delivering 334 megawatts.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund has opened 2 funding windows worth $3.9 million, offering bailout packages to firms in the wake of COVID-19. The windows are resilience and economic recovery worth $2.7 million and financial outreach valued at $1.2 million. We have the whole story in this report.
Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund Manager Navin Kamar addressing journalists after virtual launch of the 2 funding windows. The windows, resilience and economic recovery and financial outreach, are worth $2.7 and $1.2 million, respectively. For both windows, the amount contribution by the Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund range from $200,000 to $500,000, while the grantee would contribute at least 30% of the total project value. Kamar says the two windows will help private sector players strengthen their resilience against possible effects of COVID-19.
While this is slightly different from earlier windows, which was looking more at innovative business models, this particular window of the MICF is not only looking at innovation, but it is primarily looking at increasing or improving firm capacity, retention of jobs, where there are opportunities for companies to strengthen their supply chains, they strengthen their supply chains. Where it is possible for them to integrate technology, bring that forward. Where it is possible for them to look at supporting roles, whether it is logistics, whether it is distribution, last mile delivery. This is what they are actually looking at.
The first window is targeting businesses with potential to leverage producers to scale and grow products likely to experience supply shortages, but with potential for future exports. The financial outreach window, on the other side, targets financial institutions, digital financial operators, and non-bank financial institutions.
For each of these windows, there is an eligibility criteria. Primarily, these have to be projects that are implemented in Malawi. That is what is actually most important. Companies have to demonstrate that they have the capacity, which is the organizational capacity, and the financial capacity to implement these projects. The return that the donor is getting is the development impact. So these projects, while they should generate, it has to be a for-profit model for the company, otherwise why would they be in it? At the same time, it also has to pull, or it also has to deliver development impact.
Speaking area, German Ambassador Jürgen Bosch said the windows would assist the financial sector to address liquidity, portfolio liquidity issues, and credit risk that the pandemic has brought about. Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund is supported by the United Nations Development Fund, UK Department for International Development, and KfW, a German government-owned development bank.
Now, another business news. Malawi Enterprise Development Fund says it has put strict measures on loan repayments in the program. This was said in Nsanje district, where loans to youths and women were dispersed. The fund has so far dispersed about 4.5 billion kwacha across the country. We have the whole story in this report.
Wela has disclosed that by 6th of this month, MEDIF had dispersed 4.5 billion worth of loans across the country. He said the enterprise has been training beneficiaries on how they can manage the loans and be able to pay back. He added that previously they encountered challenges in identifying beneficiaries, but now the problem has been addressed.
Today we have dispersed 5 checks ranging from 1.5 million to 3 million. So there's a range of amounts that have been dispersed. As of 6th June, we have dispersed 4.5 billion Malawi kwacha. And this is for the 2 portfolios, women and youth, that were launched by the state president. Unlike the other loans, this portfolio that was launched by the state president is for groups. And we are banking on group dynamics, and we have extensive programs for training the groups before they get the monies. And the training includes group cohesion and also financial management. So people that are getting the loans will be able to manage the finances they realize from their businesses, so they will be able to pay. And the other hiccup that was experienced in the other programs was identification of the beneficiaries. But now with the national identification system, we are able to identify the systems using an established system, that is national identification system. If you go and check the application forms, there is no item that is requesting political affiliation. All the items are just identifying the person, the business they are doing, and the ideas they have. So when the forms come to MEDEF, there's no way we can know that this one belongs to a particular political party. So we are just disbursing to Malawians. There's no political affiliation that is identified in the application process. Remember, this program for loans for women and youth was launched way back before the campaign period started. So this program was there a long time ago, and in March it was just the launch. So campaign has come while the programs for disbursing these loans were already in place. So I don't think we can link this program of disbursement to the campaign. They are two different things.
Minister of Trade and Industry Salim Bagas urged the beneficiaries to pay the loans in time.
You see, this loan is a revolving fund that, the amount which has been given. For all Malawians to access the loan, it means that we need to make emphasis that the borrowers should actually pay back so that their friends and other groups should also benefit to access the loan. So it is a loan which does not need much. You see, like giving collateral and whatever. It's very flexible. So that's why we're encouraging the communities that once they get the loan, they should actually pay the loan in time. I'm sure people are listening and they will abide to what we say.
One of the beneficiaries, Tevas Kalumpalinga, said since he obtained the loan, his financial status has improved. Some of the groups that have received the loans in Sanje district are Maiwatu, Ntambo, and Pyatapiago.
Well, with that story, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. But always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe. Bye for now.